Welcome to US Coins World, the home for rare treasures hiding in plain sight. If you're passionate about US coins, history, and the thrill of discovery, you're in the right place. Today, we're diving into one of America's most iconic coins, the Washington Quarter. At first glance, it may look like everyday change, but some of these quarters are worth far more than 25 cents. So get ready, coin lovers, because this story of the Washington Quarter is going to surprise you. Top 1 today, we're unlocking the secrets of a coin that many people overlook, the 1971 Washington Quarter. At first glance, it looks like any other 25-cent piece, but believe me, there are rare versions of this coin that collectors would pay astonishing sums for. In fact, some of them have reached values so high, you'll have a hard time believing it. Stay with me, because this is one video you don't want to miss. Let's start with a little background. The Washington Quarter first appeared in 1932, designed by John Flanagan to honor the 200th birthday of the nation's first president, George Washington. By 1971, the design had already become iconic, and millions of Americans carried this quarter in their daily lives. On the obverse side, we have George Washington's portrait with the inscriptions, "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," along with the date, 1971. On the reverse side, there's the bold American eagle perched on a bundle of arrows, symbolizing strength and readiness, with olive branches underneath representing peace. Together, these elements gave the coin both dignity and meaning, making it one of the most recognizable designs in American coinage. But here's where it gets fascinating. The year 1971 was part of a new era in U.S. coinage. Since 1965, the mint had stopped using silver in quarters, switching instead to a copper-nickel-clad composition. That means all quarters from 1971 were supposed to be copper-nickel. However, rare minting errors, transitional planchet mistakes, and unusual strikes have made certain 1971 quarters unbelievably valuable today. Now let's dive into what makes the 1971 Washington Quarter so special. Most people assume every quarter from this year is worth face value, and for the majority, that's true. But collectors know that it's the rare flaws, the unexpected details, and the coins that survived in pristine condition that change everything. Some of the rarest examples include off-metal strikes. In rare cases, a 1971 quarter was struck on the wrong blank planchet, such as one intended for a dime or even for a foreign coin. These mistakes are incredibly rare and immediately catch the attention of serious collectors. Double die errors. Sometimes, when the dies are misaligned during the minting process, certain details on the coin, like the date, letters, or inscriptions, appear doubled. This creates a dramatic, eye-catching effect that collectors love because it makes each error coin completely unique. Off-center strikes. These occur when the coin isn't properly centered during minting, resulting in designs that are shifted and missing sections. The more dramatic the off-center error, the more valuable the coin becomes. Clipped planchet errors. A mistake in cutting the metal blanks leaves part of the coin missing, often creating curved bites out of the coin's edge. These quirky-looking coins are rare and collectible, but it's not only errors that make these coins valuable. Condition plays a massive role. Most 1971 quarters in circulation today are scratched, worn, and dull from decades of use. But coins that have been preserved in near-perfect mint state condition, especially those graded MS-65 and above by professional grading services, can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Combine high grade with a dramatic mint error, and now you're talking about coins worth tens of thousands. Think about it. How many times have you seen a 1971 quarter and spent it without a second thought? Millions of these coins are out there, but the chances of finding one with a mint error or in pristine condition are like striking gold. That's what makes the thrill of coin collecting so exciting. You never know what treasure might be hiding in plain sight, and here's the part you've been waiting for. While most Washington quarters from 1971 are only worth face value, the rarest ones, those with dramatic errors and perfect preservation, have been valued at an astonishing $68,000. Yes, you heard me right, $68,000 for a single quarter from 1971. Imagine reaching into your change jar, pulling out an old coin, and realizing it's worth more than a brand new car, more than a year's salary for many people, more than you ever dreamed a simple coin could bring. That's the kind of surprise that makes coin collecting such a rewarding adventure. So the next time you come across a Washington quarter from 1971, don't dismiss it. Take a moment to really look at it. Check for doubling in the letters and numbers, inspect for any off-center designs, and look closely at the edges for unusual cuts or clips. And if the coin looks nearly flawless, it might be worth sending in for grading. Who knows, you could be holding a life-changing treasure right in the palm of your hand. That's the beauty of this hobby. Every coin is a mystery waiting to be solved, a story waiting to be told, and sometimes, a fortune waiting to be discovered. Top 2. We're diving deep into the world of the Washington quarter from 1972, a coin that many people still spend without a second thought, but one that holds secrets, rarities, and incredible value if you know what to look for. So listen carefully, because by the end of this video, you'll learn why this ordinary-looking coin could actually be worth a life-changing fortune. Let's begin with the history. By 1972, the Washington quarter had already been in circulation for 40 years. Originally introduced in 1932 to celebrate George Washington's 200th birthday, the quarter's design by John Flanagan had become an American classic. On the obverse, we have the iconic portrait of George Washington facing left, with the words, "Liberty," above and, "In God We Trust," inscribed to the side. At the bottom, of course, is the date, 1972. On the reverse, you'll find the bold American eagle with its wings spread wide, perched on arrows with olive branches beneath, symbolizing both the nation's strength and its desire for peace. But what makes the 1972 Washington quarter so fascinating isn't just its design, it's the fact that certain rare varieties and errors from this year have shocked collectors with their value. To understand why, we need to look at what was happening in coin production at that time. By the early 1970s, the mint was producing coins at a massive scale. Millions upon millions of Washington quarters were struck at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. With such high production numbers, mistakes were inevitable, and those mistakes are exactly what make some 1972 quarters so desirable today. Now, let's talk about the errors that can transform this common coin into something extraordinary. Double die errors are among the most famous. These occur when the design elements are struck twice, slightly misaligned, causing the letters, numbers, or even Washington's profile to appear doubled. On some 1972 quarters, doubling can be seen on the date or inscriptions, making them stand out dramatically. Off-center strikes are another favorite among collectors. When the coin isn't perfectly aligned during the strike, part of the design is missing, leaving blank space. The more off-center the error, the more valuable the coin becomes. Clipped planchets happen when the blank metal disc used to strike the coin is cut incorrectly, leaving a quarter that looks like it has a bite taken out of it. These quirky errors are rare and highly collectible, and then there are the rare wrong planchet errors, where a 1972 quarter design was mistakenly struck on a planchet meant for another denomination, such as a dime or even a foreign coin. These types of errors are so unusual that each one is considered unique. Of course, condition plays a massive role as well. Most 1972 quarters you find today are worn, scratched, and have seen decades of use in circulation. But coins that have survived in pristine, mint state condition, especially those graded MS65 or higher, are highly desirable. When you combine perfect condition with a dramatic error, that's when the price skyrockets into shocking territory. Collectors love the 1972 quarter not only for its errors but also because it represents a fascinating period in American coinage history. This was an era when the mint was balancing massive demand, evolving technology, and the challenge of maintaining quality control. Each rare error quarter from this year is like a little piece of that story, a mistake that survived the mint's process and made its way into the hands of collectors. And now we've arrived at the moment you've been waiting for, the value reveal. While most 1972 Washington quarters are worth just 25 cents, the rarest examples, those with dramatic minting errors and preserved in stunning, uncirculated condition, have been valued at an astonishing $72,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $72,000 for a single Washington quarter from 1972. Just imagine finding one of these in a coin jar, tucked in an old collection, or hidden in pocket change. What looks like a simple piece of metal could actually be a small fortune waiting to be discovered. That's the thrill of coin collecting, it's not just about money, it's about history, craftsmanship, and the excitement of uncovering something rare that others may have overlooked. Every coin has a story, and the 1972 Washington quarter is proof that even modern coins can hold extraordinary value. So the next time you spot a Washington quarter from 1972, take a close look. Examine the details, check for errors, and don't underestimate the value of what you might have. It could be one of the rare treasures worth more than you ever imagined. Top 3. We're uncovering the hidden secrets of the Washington quarter from 1973. At first glance, this coin may look like just another quarter you'd find in your pocket, but the truth is that some rare versions of this coin are so special that collectors have paid unbelievable amounts of money for them. Listen closely, because by the end of this video, you'll learn exactly how valuable a 1973 quarter can be. Let's start with a little history. The Washington quarter had already been in circulation for more than 40 years by 1973. First issued in 1932 to celebrate George Washington's 200th birthday, the design by John Flanagan had become a staple of American coinage. On the obverse, we see the iconic portrait of George Washington with the word "Liberty" above and "In God We Trust" to the side, along with the date, 1973, at the bottom. On the reverse, we find the proud American eagle perched on arrows with olive branches beneath, a design that symbolizes both strength and peace. By 1973, all quarters were being struck in copper-nickel clad composition instead of silver, a change that had been made back in 1965. However, the massive production numbers at the U.S. Mint meant that rare mistakes slipped through. These mistakes, minting errors and unusual variations, are exactly what transform a regular 25-cent coin into something worth a fortune. So, what should you be looking for in a 1973 Washington quarter? Let's talk about the errors and features that make these coins so valuable. Point 1. Of the most desirable is the double die error, where parts of the design appear double due to misalignment during the minting process. On some 1973 quarters, you can see this doubling on the date, inscriptions, or even Washington's profile, and that immediately makes the coin more collectible. Another exciting error is the off-center strike. When a quarter is struck off-center, part of the design is missing, leaving blank areas of the coin exposed. The more off-center the strike, the rarer and more valuable the coin becomes. Then there are clipped planchet errors, where part of the coin is literally missing because the blank metal disc was cut incorrectly before striking. These unusual-looking coins always stand out in a collection. Perhaps the rarest and most thrilling are the wrong planchet strikes. Imagine a Washington quarter design accidentally struck on a planchet meant for a dime or even a foreign coin. These oddities are incredibly rare and each one is essentially unique. Condition also plays a major role in value. Most 1973 quarters you see today have been circulating for decades, showing scratches, wear, and discoloration. Those are worth only face value. But coins that survived in pristine, uncirculated condition, especially those graded MS-65 or higher by professional services like PCGS or NGC, are in a completely different category. Add a dramatic error to a mint-state coin, and suddenly, its value skyrockets. Collectors are especially drawn to these coins because they represent a fascinating era in U.S. coinage. The early 1970s were a time of high demand, rapid production, and occasional mistakes. A rare 1973 quarter is not just money, it's a snapshot of history, a symbol of how even tiny flaws at the mint can create something truly extraordinary. And now, let's get to the part you've been waiting for, the value reveal. While most 1973 Washington quarters are only worth 25 cents, the rarest examples, with dramatic minting errors and preserved in exceptional condition, have been valued at an incredible $85,000. Yes, you heard that right, $85,000 for a single Washington quarter from 1973. Imagine finding one of these tucked away in an old coin jar or hiding in a collection passed down through your family. What looks like ordinary change could actually be worth more than a luxury car or even more than some people's yearly salary. That's what makes coin collecting so exciting. It's a mix of history, artistry, and treasure hunting. Every coin tells a story, and the 1973 Washington quarter proves that even modern coins can hold life-changing surprises. So the next time you spot a Washington quarter from 1973, don't overlook it. Study the details, check for errors, and pay attention to its condition. Who knows, you might be holding a rare coin worth a fortune. Top 4. We are diving into the world of the Washington quarter from the year 1974. At first glance, it might look like the same 25-cent piece you've seen 1,000 times, but listen carefully, because some rare and extraordinary versions of this coin are worth an amount that will absolutely surprise you. Let's start with the basics. The Washington quarter had been in circulation for decades by 1974. First introduced in 1932, this coin honored the 200th birthday of George Washington. By the 1970s, it had already become one of the most familiar coins in American history. The obverse shows Washington's strong profile, with the word "Liberty" above, "In God We Trust" to the side, and the date 1974 right below. On the reverse, we see the majestic American eagle with wings spread wide, clutching arrows while resting above an olive branch, symbolizing both power and peace. Now, most quarters from 1974 were struck in a copper-nickel-clad composition, which replaced silver coins almost a decade earlier. But what makes some 1974 quarters so rare and so desirable are the mistakes, the minting errors that slipped through during the massive production runs. These errors transformed a common quarter into a collector's dream. One error that collectors crave is the double die strike. This is when part of the design is struck twice, slightly offset, causing letters, numbers, or features of Washington's portrait to appear doubled. A 1974 quarter with doubling on the date or the inscriptions can be worth an impressive sum. Another rare and exciting error is the off-center strike, where the coin is not aligned properly during minting. This leaves part of the design missing, creating a striking and unusual appearance. The more off-center the strike, the higher the value climbs. We also can't forget the clipped planchet errors, where part of the coin is literally cut off before the design is pressed into it. These odd-shaped coins are instantly recognizable and always stand out in a collection. Perhaps the most dramatic and valuable errors come from wrong planchet strikes. Imagine a Washington quarter design accidentally struck on a nickel or even a foreign coin blank. These are incredibly rare, and when found, they can fetch amazing prices at auction. Condition also matters more than many realize. A 1974 quarter that has been circulating for decades, covered in scratches and wear, is worth only face value. But a coin that has been preserved in mint state, especially one graded MS-65 or higher, suddenly enters a completely different world of value. When you combine pristine condition with a striking mint error, you have a coin that collectors will pay huge money to own. Now, what makes the 1974 Washington quarter especially fascinating is that it came during a period of heavy coin production. The mint was striking millions upon millions of coins, and with such speed and volume, the chances of errors increased. That's why collectors today pay such close attention to coins from this era, because a hidden gem could still be sitting in your pocket change, coin jar, or old family collection. These coins aren't just money, they're miniature pieces of American history, art, and craftsmanship. Each rare error tells a story of how a small mishap at the mint turned into something that collectors dream of owning. And now comes the moment you've been waiting for, the value reveal. While most 1974 Washington quarters are worth only 25 cents, the rarest examples with exceptional errors and preserved in outstanding condition have sold for as much as $91,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $91,000 for a single Washington quarter dated 1974. Imagine finding one of these coins tucked away in your change. That tiny piece of metal could be worth more than a brand new luxury car, or even enough to put a down payment on a house. This is why collectors around the world continue to search through their change and examine every coin carefully. Because you never know, your everyday pocket change might just be hiding a small fortune. So the next time you come across a Washington quarter from 1974, don't just toss it aside. Take a closer look, because you might be holding a piece of treasure that could change your life. Top 5. We are taking a closer look at one very special coin, the Washington quarter from the year 1979. At first glance, this might look like just another everyday 25-cent piece, but if you listen carefully and watch closely, you'll learn why this particular coin has captured the attention of collectors worldwide. The Washington quarter has a long and proud history in American coinage. Introduced in 1932 to celebrate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, it quickly became one of the most familiar coins in circulation. By 1979, the design had already been in use for decades, but the coins from this year carry with them certain secrets and rare characteristics that set them apart. Let's start with the design. On the obverse, you'll find the classic portrait of George Washington, facing left, with the word Liberty boldly written above. Just to the left of his neck is the motto, "In God We Trust," and at the bottom rests the date, 1979. On the reverse, we see the majestic bald eagle, wings spread wide in power, standing on a bundle of arrows while framed by an olive branch. It is a timeless design that embodies both American strength and peace. Now, here is where things get interesting. Most quarters from 1979 are made of copper-nickel clad, a standard composition that replaced silver in the mid-1960s. In terms of numbers, millions upon millions of these coins were minted. But what makes certain 1979 quarters so incredibly valuable are the rare minting errors and special conditions that slipped through the mint. One of the most sought-after errors is the double die obverse, where details such as the date, the word Liberty, or even parts of Washington's profile appear doubled. This mistake happened during the striking process, and while most errors are caught and destroyed, a few escaped into circulation. Those few coins can now sell for astonishing sums. Another rare type of error is the off-center strike, where the design is not properly aligned. This leaves part of the coin blank and part of the design shifted. The more dramatic the off-center, the more collectors are willing to pay. We also can't forget about clipped planchet errors, where a portion of the coin's edge is missing because the blank was cut improperly before being struck. These oddly shaped quarters are highly collectible because each one is truly unique, and then there are the most dramatic rarities of all, wrong planchet strikes. Imagine a 1979 Washington quarter struck on the blank of a dime, nickel, or even a foreign coin. These rare accidents are like lightning in a bottle, and collectors go wild for them when they appear at auctions. Condition is just as important as rarity. A heavily circulated 1979 quarter that has passed through countless hands is usually only worth face value. But one preserved in brilliant mint state condition, especially those graded MS-65, MS-67, or higher, becomes a true prize. When you combine a pristine grade with a dramatic mint error, the value skyrockets. Now, let's put this into perspective. The 1970s were a busy time for the U.S. Mint. With so many coins being produced at such high speed, the chances of minting errors were higher than usual. That means sharp-eyed collectors today still have a chance to find these treasures in circulation or hidden in old collections. Imagine searching through a jar of coins and stumbling upon one of these rare 1979 quarters. You could be holding a fortune without even realizing it. This is what makes coin collecting so exciting. It's not just about money, it's about history, art, and the thrill of discovery. Every coin tells a story, and sometimes, that story can completely change the life of the person who finds it. And now comes the part you've been waiting for, the value reveal. While most 1979 quarters are just worth 25 cents, the rarest examples, preserved in spectacular condition and showing dramatic mint errors, have sold for as much as $99,000. Yes, you heard that right, $99,000 for a single Washington quarter dated 1979. Think about it, a coin you might overlook as pocket change could instead be worth more than a brand new luxury car, or even more than some people's entire savings account. So here's the lesson, always take a second look at your change. That ordinary-looking quarter from 1979 just might be the ticket to an extraordinary discovery. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the world of rare coins. If you enjoyed this video and want to keep exploring the hidden value of everyday coins, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to US Coin Mastery, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss our next treasure hunt. Until next time, keep collecting, keep searching, and remember, the next coin you find could be the one worth a life-changing fortune.